we just read the magic hat. So we of course are going to make our own magic hats. And I have lots of different ways to show you. So we are gonna go ahead and get started because we're gonna color and we're gonna paint and we're gonna work on some stamps with some found objects, which will be tons of fun. So we're gonna make our own magic hats. To start with, all you're gonna need is a grocery bag. So the one I have that I'm wearing now is actually a Food Lion bag. You can't see any of the names or any of the writing because they have all been stamped on. Mine has tooth marks from my cats. Doesn't matter. We're gonna cover all of that up. You can use a smaller one if you would like to. This would be from a takeout or delivery place. I'm not quite sure. To start with, anything you have will work. You can color with markers. We've gone over how to turn our markers into watercolors by painting over top of them with water, and we will do some of that. We have some cardboard that has been cut, and we can use this as a stamp. One of the fun things that I like to do is celery. So the end of a celery stalk, the part we don't eat that usually gets thrown away, we can slice it and use that as a stamp as well. The first part, it takes a while because you have to let it dry in between if you are painting. So we're gonna go through it step by step. 1, water, markers. So if you wanted just with markers, using the wide end, adding some of our colors. And then we can blend them. Just like we have before, either our paintbrush and water, just water, and give them time to move and mix, or even our finger. Now, when we blend this way, we know the darker colors move better, and we don't really see it as much until after it dries. Because we have each step of our bag, this is the part that takes a while. So you can draw and color all over, but you have all 4 sides of your bag and then also the top of it to decorate. So that does take some time. I'm gonna switch to this one now for our stamping. You can draw, you can color, you can glue things to it, but our stamping is really fun. As you stamp, if you're putting same colors on the plate to mix together, you want to make sure you have colors that work well together. So mine, I used a lot of my blue and my purples and my red. This time, I think I'm gonna go with my blues and my greens and maybe a little bit of yellow. So the way that this works, let me switch this out so you can see. As I add this, the least paint you add, the better, because you want it to get a good coating on the stamp, but not too much, otherwise it just comes out as a blob. So see how the edges of it kind of drip a little, but it's not a lot. I'm gonna add some green on one part. You can also paint this on your paper and then stamp into it. So if you don't have the cute little bottles that drizzle, go ahead with your paintbrush, paint it out, and then we'll stamp into it. So my celery, it kind of looks like a flower. Now I've painted with this before because that's what I did on mine. But all I'm gonna do is stamp 2, 3 on my paper. So I have plenty of paint, not everywhere, but most of it. I'm gonna do the same on my hat. Now I'm gonna start towards the bottom of the bag because this part we're going to roll to make the brim. So I'm gonna stamp until I get almost no more colors. And then do it again. 1, 2, 3 on my paint. Stamp, stamp, stamp. Notice how it doesn't really make pretty flower designs like we see here. You get the random colors. The paper bag is going to show through. You're going to have all of these paint colors mixed up on your hat. All the way to the edge as much as you can. Over and over top of each other. I'm not sliding them. If you wanted to get a different look, you could absolutely slide these. This is all about experimenting. Because if it doesn't work, what we're gonna do, we'll go ahead and draw and paint over it. Just like we do with so many of our other projects. If it's not quite what we want, we can add more to it. So now I have to let it dry before I move to another part. I'm actually not going to because we want to get this all done. So I'm going to flip this down so I can see the top. I know it's smushing there and that's going to end up being a little bit different, but that's okay. I wanted to show you about the cardboard. So I could go ahead with this with the same colors so we can still see them. But the cardboard is going to give you a much clearer stamp and it's going to show up differently. So I'm going to move back to this because I actually want to use some of my purple because I want this to show up darker. I may actually go in with some of my darker green too. So I'm going to put just a little bit out because remember, the less paint we use, the easier it is. And I'm going to spread this out a little bit on my plate. This is why this is a work together project. Now my cardboard, when I've cut it, it's not this side where it has all those little lines. You want to see the corrugated where it has those little squiggles in between because straight up and down, tap, 2, 3, I'm going to get all the way along it and straight up and down, straight up and down, straight up and down. See how I have all those designs? Now, longer pieces or figure out where to put that. I can roll them together. So as I did this, I just taped the outside and I can do the same thing. Tap, 2, 3. Hold that, and there we go. And you get different shapes. Doing it this way, you can mix lots of different colors, lots of different designs. We need to make sure we let our bag dry in between because you can see how mine's already sticking a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and prop mine up this. I'm going to let it sit and dry before I work on my other sides. So when we come back and we get ready to actually build our hat, I will have gone through and stamped my other sides and decorated it. Once it's dry, mine has silver swirls that I did just with the paint. You can draw on it with your permanent markers. You can draw over it with your crayons. Make sure everything gets a chance to dry first. So we're gonna come back and look at that after everything is dried, because I can't work on it while it's wet. That paint will get on my markers or on my crayons and it will ruin my other materials. So this is a project, we gotta let it sit and we have to walk away. I know it's easier when we're in class because you go and do other things. Unfortunately, we're at home, so you have to leave it alone. Walk away, we'll come back and work on it after. All right, bye guys.